Paresh.
We have an expression around Pi now about if you kill a presentation, you Paresh it. He definitely owns it.
No, it was very good. So Ken,
yeah, I think there's another thing that I think is very important in your answer. One is you didn't quit.
Yeah.
But the other is when you present, especially to investors, these are really smart people, and I see a lot of entrepreneurs, they're dumb, they don't get it. If they don't get it, you didn't explain it well. I mean, and maybe you had to turn your business model. It might just be that you know so much about it, you're forgetting to share, so many interesting things. So you have to look at yourself and constantly improve. Sometimes just how you present. I've been told before, wow, you've changed your whole business model. I have to bite my tongue. It's like, no, I just presented a little bit better to you 6 months later.
And everyone's different, isn't it? It's iterative. How important do you think is knowing your audience and reading the room when you're doing those pitches?
Paresh.
No, I think understanding the audience is really critical. I mean, if you don't understand who you're presenting to, it's a whole different thing. I mean, and sometimes it's a mixed audience. Like Pi Demo Day, you had investors, you had public, you had media. And so in that case, I deliberately made the presentation plain language, right? There was not a whole lot of jargon. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff that just an investor would understand or some, just try to make it conversational, basically. And the beauty of making something conversational is that everyone can understand that then, right? Whether you're an investor, the media, a customer, whoever, you're all going to understand that. And at the end of the day, we conversate, right? We talk to people, but it seems like when we go on stage and we present, we add all the jargon and all the industry-specific stuff that just complicates things. And the thing about jargon, though, is it has a very specific meaning, and usually in a presentation the context of that jargon doesn't come through. So even though I might say, a word that has a meaning, everybody in the room could have a different understanding of what that meaning is. So I think understanding who you're talking to, I wouldn't probably do the same presentation if it was just a room of, 15 VCs who have a certain level of knowledge that they're trying to get out of it. But at the same time, I don't think it has to be filled with jargon or any of that stuff.
Okay. So we started to allude to this. You get out there, you think you've got the right story, you've got the right business, and then the market doesn't like it, whether that market is your customer or the investor base. So perhaps pivots are in order, big changes or little changes to your business model. So talk to us about pivoting. I think JR has a pivot story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had a pretty clear thing we were setting out to accomplish originally, and this idea of helping people save money on the cloud. But I think the biggest pivot points for us were really around how we message it, how we talk to people. I mean, Matt gave a presentation at Pan a few months back, and we gave totally the wrong presentation to a room of investors. We gave a customer presentation, and it was just didn't work. So, it was an iterative process where we went through that as well. But, originally we started the business with a totally different model. Because you don't have to pivot totally the business plan. You can also pivot, obviously just how you're going to sell it. And we were going to give it away and sell the advertising on the back. The Mint.com model, if anybody has used Mint. And got a lot of feedback around, who our customer actually was. Does that make it the person using it, or does it make it, the advertiser paying? We wanted our customer to be the end user. And one of the interesting things about the process of switching that model was we talked to a lot of investors early on, and we were all it's about the data. We're going to sell advertising. It's going to be great. It's going to be this long-term thing. We got this sort of lean back, like, I don't really know if there's something there. And as soon as we switched that messaging, we started saying, we're going to sell subscriptions, and we're going to do these other things that are money in the door. And then we'd mention the data as an aside. We suddenly get them going, wait, but tell me more about this data thing you want to do. Like, that's a really interesting thing. And it was interesting because I think that in the end, like, our vision for the big play is still selling that data and using it in a way that has really a limitless potential, but we're taking different steps to get there. And it has been very much about changing the way we talk about it, changing the way we word it, even just so that when we talk about it to a customer, partner, investor, we can get the whole thing down to a sentence now. And that took 9 months to do, even though the core is still the same.
There's a famous expression, I think it's attributed to Martin Luther King, and it says something like, I'm sorry this took so long, or wait, no, I'm going to screw it up. I'm sorry this is so long, I didn't have enough time. You know, the message there being, it's actually much harder to pare something down to the core. And there's an eloquence and a synergy when you hit it. You know when you hit it because it changes the way your audience receives you. And it takes 1,000, I mean, we coach people, it can take 1,000 times before you hit that point. And that's just part of it. But it feels good when you get it, doesn't it? So, fundraising. It's probably not everyone's favorite thing, but there's a lot of questions about fundraising. And you've all done it. Some are at different stages of it. But what advice would anybody here have for somebody building a company, deciding whether they're going to bootstrap the company and just basically fund it out of their own pocket as best they can, or go out and get professional, well, not but investors involved, other people's money?
So our situation, we basically, Glenn, my co-founder back there, and I, we've got an extensive experience in the industry. He's spent 20 years in the industry. I've spent 20 years in the industry. And we kind of, I don't know if you want to say overconfident, but we had a certain element of confidence in our product, and we knew our market and our customers need this. And initially it was, hard to get other people to get that. And when we met with some VCs and some investors, and we didn't get too disappointed because we could tell from their line of questioning if they were going to work with us or not. Because we basically felt like either they're going to get it or not, and if they don't get it, if we can't get it from the beginning, it's going to be hard to have that relationship where they're going to get it later. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but it was just like if they were asking us the wrong questions for what we felt like we just needed to move on to someone else. Who, when you get it, when you find the person who you're going to work with, you'll know, and it's not a whole lot of effort. I mean, we didn't want to spend a whole lot of effort trying to talk and convince people who didn't get it. If you follow what I'm saying, and because when you try to do that, one, if they don't really get it, and even if you get them convinced to understand it, there's probably still that little bit of hesitation in their understanding. And when you get that investor who gets it, they get it almost unconditionally, meaning you don't have to do a whole lot of selling to them to understand what you're doing. I mean, even to the point of needing to see performers, because if they understand the opportunity, they understand it. And that's kind of where our approach was a little bit different. And it kind of worked for us because there was a lot of no's in the beginning, and you don't get to the right person, but we didn't take that as a disappointment. We just said, well, they may be doing great at what they do, but the fit is not just there for us. And we were just kept on moving until we found the person or the people who could fit with us.
Good point. Is that your experience too, that you're interviewing the